I thought ignoring people would make me powerful. Instead, it slowly turned me into someone I didn't recognize. There was a time in my life when I believed the coldest person in the room was always the strongest. Not louder, not smarter, just colder. So I built my entire personality around one idea: never react, never explain, just ignore. At first it felt like power. Someone disrespected me, I acted like they didn't exist. Someone disappointed me, I disappeared emotionally. Someone wanted answers from me, silence. No emotion, no closure, no weakness. And honestly, it worked. People chased me more. They texted twice. They apologized faster. They looked nervous around me. That was the first trap. Because when a strategy gives you results, you stop asking what it's doing to you. I didn't notice the shift right away. That's the dangerous part. Dark psychology almost never feels dark in the beginning. It feels efficient. It feels clean. It feels like self-control. I told myself I was becoming disciplined. But what I was really becoming was emotionally unavailable. I remember one night especially clearly. A friend of mine called me after a bad breakup. He needed someone to talk to. I saw the phone ringing, stared at it, and let it ring out. Not because I was busy, not because I hated him, but because somewhere in my mind, I had started to believe that responding to pain made me weak. That's when I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just ignoring toxic people anymore. I was ignoring everyone. And the strangest part, I still felt proud of it. That's how rationalized manipulation works when you turn it on yourself. At first, you use it as a shield. Then, slowly, the shield fuses to your skin. Eventually, you can't tell where your protection ends and your damage begins. People online love to sell the idea that emotional detachment is freedom. Ignore them. Stay mysterious. Never care more than they do. Make them feel your absence. But nobody talks about the hidden price of living like that. Because every time I ignored someone, I got a small hit of control. And control is addictive. That's the dopamine side of dark psychology no one mentions enough. When you withhold attention, you can feel powerful because you're influencing uncertainty. You become the one controlling the emotional temperature. You decide when connection is allowed and when it's denied. And the brain loves that feeling. Power, distance, unpredictability. They can create a reward loop. You start associating silence with strength. You start needing that emotional upper hand just to feel safe. But there's another chemical response happening underneath it. Cortisol. Stress. Because even when you look calm on the outside, emotional suppression doesn't mean emotional peace. A lot of the time, it means your body is carrying tension your mouth refuses to release. That was happening to me. I looked unbothered. But I was sleeping worse. I was overthinking more. Small interactions felt exhausting. Even simple conversations started feeling like threats. Why? Because when you train yourself to hold everything in, every human interaction starts to feel like a test of control. You can't relax. You can't be natural. You're not connecting anymore. You're managing impressions. That's not peace. That's psychological warfare with no off switch. And the worst part is that it starts to change how you see people. You stop asking, who is genuine? You start asking, who wants leverage? You stop thinking, maybe they care. You start thinking, what do they want from me? This is where defensive intelligence becomes paranoia. And once that happens, isolation doesn't arrive dramatically. It arrives quietly. Fewer calls. Fewer real conversations. Fewer people who trust you enough to be honest. Not because they hate you, because they can feel that you are no longer emotionally available. People can sense when they are not safe with you, not physically, psychologically. They can feel when every interaction is being measured, withheld, calculated. I learned that the hard way when someone I cared about said something to me I still haven't forgotten. They said, "Talking to you feels like talking through a locked door." That sentence destroyed me because it was true. I had become the kind of person who always wanted to look strong, but no longer knew how to be close to anyone. That's the hidden cost Machiavellian thinking can create when people oversimplify it. They hear strategy, but forget context. They hear power, but ignore consequence. Because yes, selective silence can be useful. Yes, not reacting to provocation can protect you. Yes, refusing to explain yourself to manipulative people can save your sanity. But when you turn that into a lifestyle instead of a tool, it starts eating away at your humanity. That's the twist nobody tells you. Ignoring everyone doesn't just punish other people. It rewires you. You become numb in moments where warmth is needed, suspicious in moments where trust is possible, detached in moments where honesty would heal everything. And here's where it gets darker. The more isolated you become, the more your strategy feels justified. Because once you've pushed enough people away, you look around and say, "See? No one understands me. People always disappoint. Distance is safer." But that's not wisdom. That's a self-fulfilling prison. You create the emotional emptiness, then use that emptiness as proof that you were right to become cold. That is one of the most dangerous loops in dark psychology, when a protective behavior creates the very pain it claims to defend you from. I lived in that loop longer than I want to admit. I thought I was mastering silence, but silence was mastering me. And the truth finally hit me in the smallest moment. I was sitting across from someone who genuinely cared about me. They were trying to ask me a simple question. "Why do you always disappear when things get real?" I could have answered. I could have told the truth. That I was afraid that reacting would make me weak. That explaining myself felt like surrender. That caring openly felt dangerous. But instead, I did what I had trained myself to do. I smiled, shrugged, said, "It's not that deep." And I watched their face change, not into anger, into resignation. That was the moment I understood something brutal. Indifference doesn't always make you powerful. Sometimes, it just makes you lonely in a way that looks sophisticated from the outside. And loneliness dressed as control is still loneliness. So what's the real lesson here? Ignore manipulation, not humanity. Ignore disrespect, not connection. Ignore chaos, not people who are trying to love you honestly. That's the balance most people miss. Dark psychology becomes dangerous when it teaches survival without teaching recovery. Defense without discernment. Distance without emotional intelligence. You do need boundaries. You do need restraint. You do need the ability to stay calm when someone wants a reaction. But if every relationship becomes a power game, you will eventually lose something bigger than the battle. You will lose your ability to feel safe being real. And once that happens, even winning starts to feel empty. So no, Machiavelli wasn't wrong about power. He just never had to warn you what happens when power becomes your personality. Because the dark price of ignoring everyone is that one day, when you finally want genuine connection, you may realize you trained yourself to reject the very thing you needed most. If this story felt a little too familiar, subscribe, because most people think manipulation only happens when someone controls you, not when a survival strategy slowly turns you into someone emotionally unreachable. And comment below, have you ever mistaken coldness for strength?